The final day of Green Bay Packers training camp is here, day 18, and a joint practice with the Seattle Seahawks. First, I just wanted to give a big thank you to everyone who's stopped by the channel throughout training camp this offseason. It's been a blast to make videos every single day after camp, but now I'm just ready for some actual football. So this was the last practice open to the public, a joint practice versus the Seattle Seahawks, and man, there is a lot to go over today. It was a very long, intense practice, 2 hours and 21 minutes to be exact, including great 1v1 reps, 7v7, 11v11, and a massive fight. Probably one of the biggest fights at a joint practice in recent history, and we have video of it. And we also have video of 1v1 reps, 7v7 reps, and 11v11 reps. So we're going to react to, break down all those exclusive clips here on this channel today. And if you're stopping by for the first time and you want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers this season, I would highly suggest going down and clicking that subscribe button. Nearly 50% of my viewers are not subscribed, and you may not even realize that you're not. So if you could do me a favor and go down and click the subscribe button, it really helps out the channel a ton. Thank you guys. All right, so let's get this thing started and bring up the screen. This is probably going to be a pretty long video. I have so many clips from today's practice. It was a perfect send-off for the last day of training camp. So first, let's quickly go over some injury updates. There aren't many, but there are a few to go over. Jordan Love was still limited in today's practice for the Green Bay Packers. You can still see that wrap around his left hand. Now, reports are that Jordan Love will get his stitches removed on Saturday, and he continues to ramp things up every single day of camp. And next week when the Packers are practicing, that's closed to the public, I'm sure he'll do even more and be 100% by week 1 versus Detroit. Some great news on the injury side of things for the Packers defense. We see here Xavier McKinney has returned to practice. Really great to hear for today. Now, X only participated in individual drills, so we didn't see him in any of the 1v1s or 11v11s versus the Seahawks, but nonetheless, great to see him back the final day of training camp. This bodes really well for him being fully 100% for week 1. A new addition to the injury report was linebacker Jared Bartlett, and all the other did not participate were more of the same. Aaron Banks, Jacob Monk, Marshawn Lloyd, Savion Williams, Barron Sorrell, Omar Brown, Zane Anderson, Jaden Reed, Tay Wicks, and Nate Hobbs. So both of Reed and Wicks, neither of which able to return the final day of training camp. All right, so now let's dive into all the 1v1 clips I have from today's practice first. And of course, we got to start with Matthew Golden yet again cooking in today's practice here on a 9 route versus cornerback Demarius Williams of the Seattle Seahawks, a depth cornerback, but albeit still a very nice rep and a terrific throw from Malik Willis. And as we'll see in more clips from today's practice, Malik Willis had a wonderful day of practice today, filling in as quarterback number 1 in 11v11 periods. Really nice rep here by Matthew Golden. A little bit of a push off there after Williams was basically holding onto the back of his jersey. That's subtle hand fighting that happens every rep. I don't see this being called in a game sense. You can see the speed here by Matthew Golden. And again, just a terrific throw. Here we have another Matthew Golden rep, but this one at the goal line, again against Demarius Williams. A little bit of an outside shade, releases inside, a lot of hand fighting. This route does take a while to complete, and in a game sense, the quarterback likely doesn't have this much time to throw. It was really good coverage by Williams here, but what I love about Matthew Golden is in this rep, and what we've seen all of camp, is his ability to use his hands and use his body to box out defenders and make it to where he's really the only player able to go up and snag this ball. And at the end, you see the tough hands, the strong hands to bring that thing down kind of away from his body, away from that defender, and even hold on to it through a swat, as you see right at the end there, the defender trying to swat his arm. A lot of times that would break the pass up, but Matthew Golden has very strong hands. We've seen it all camp. I'm just so ready for Matthew Golden in week 1. Here's a rep of Packers wide receiver Romeo Doubs versus starting Seahawks cornerback Devin Witherspoon. I would have loved to see 1v1 reps of Golden versus Witherspoon. And Witherspoon does slip at the top of the route here, but nonetheless, Romeo Doubs does beat Witherspoon with this rep. A quick out route on the goal line. Even though he slipped, he was trying to catch up to Romeo Doubs, who had a really nice break at the top of the route towards the pylon. So that is a win for Romeo Doubs, who returned to practice this week and right off the rip just started making plays this week. Here's a rep by tight end Ben Sims, who pretty much does an illegal route in 1v1s. A sluggo to a corner route shouldn't be allowed in 1v1s. He should win this rep, which he does. And it was a massive day for the tight ends, mainly Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. And we have a ton of clips today showcasing all the plays both of those players made. And it's a lot of them, but really nice rep here by Ben Sims. Both him and John Fitzpatrick have been making plays in camp. Here's a rep of Mecole Hardman on the outside running a comeback route. Creates a lot of separation there on the outside. Mecole Hardman has consistently done very well in 1v1s. We just really haven't seen it in a game sense in the preseason. And I'm very interested to see how this final preseason game goes, because if Mecole Hardman isn't getting all the punt return reps, I don't know if he makes this roster. I think right now that's his course to the roster and his only course. We have Matthew Golden stepping up. Now we have a lot of injuries at wide receiver, so he might just make it based on that to start. But let me know down in the comments below. I'm kind of at a 50-50 right now. Do we think Mecole Hardman makes the Packers roster? Now, I do have two clips of 7v7s where Jordan Love did practice today versus the Seattle defense. Obviously, no pass rush, no live snap, so he's really protected here. But it was a rough outing by this Packers offense in 7v7s versus the Seahawks. There's only really two completions during this sequence. This is one of them, a quick cross route to Luke Musgrave, who likely would have gotten to the end zone. Both completions to tight ends. Luke Musgrave, you'll see the Tucker Kraft one right after this one. And here is that Tucker Kraft touchdown in 7v7s. What I noticed about the 7v7 portion is the Packers were running a lot of vanilla offense, it seemed. You can see all three receivers on the right just kind of running up and turning around. I don't think the Packers, and again, it's 7v7, so it's kind of hard to run any type of concepts. You still can run, receiver, stat concepts, kind of like they did there. But a nice corner post by Tucker Kraft, just absolutely putting that defensive back in a blender at the top of the route. Again, there's no pass rush, so hard to really tell if maybe there would be pressure there. There likely would have, but still a great find by Jordan Love. This was really the lone good rep from 7v7s. The Seattle defense did really good in this period. Now, before we dive into the 11v11 clips I do have, there was a massive fight, as I mentioned, in today's practice. It was arguably one of the worst training camp fights that a lot of reporters have seen ever. A lot of people said that were at today's practice, and I'll just run the clip. You could see on the right side, Zach Tom start to throw punches on both Devin Witherspoon and Ernest Jones. Allegedly, Zach Tom kept getting thrown to the ground after practice. A lot of after a play, a lot of extracurricular was going on after a play, and Zach Tom had enough of it and pushed. I think it was Devin Witherspoon who then threw a punch. Then Zach Tom threw a punch at Devin and also Ernest Jones. I'll never understand throwing punches at helmets. Doesn't make much sense to me, but also I like the physicality, going to war for your teammates here. Also Tucker Kraft. Let me just replay that for you guys, right? Zach Tom's in a little scuffle. Everyone's kind of watching. Look at Tucker Kraft. Just full on head sprint and drive Devin Witherspoon back into the ground. And then at that point, Tucker Kraft is in a sea of blue. He's like Jon Snow at the Battle of the Bastards, just him against the world there. I love seeing that from Tucker Kraft. You don't want to see fights overall, but also I want the Packers to be a physical football team, a punch you in the mouth, for lack of better words, type of football team. I think we need more of that for the Green Bay Packers. Hopefully Zach Tom's hands are okay. He sat out of practice after this. I would assume it was just disciplinary and rather than, an injury to his hands. But, you never want to start punching helmets like that. And Ernest Jones gets in a good one too. Definitely a crazy fight. This was crazy. Tempers definitely flared at today's practice. This tends to happen in joint practice when you're halfway or mostly through training camp. A lot of people fighting for jobs, a lot of energy, right? A lot of times joint practices are more intense than the preseason game themselves because you see more of starters versus starters and whatnot. But let me know your thoughts on this down below. I like seeing it just because I like the physicality. Obviously, I don't want anyone to get actually hurt, but the physicality from both of those players, especially Tucker Kraft, just like going to war for his teammates there. You love to see it overall. All right, so now let's dive into the 11v11 clips, and let's start off with all the Tucker Kraft plays because he was absolutely cooking this Seattle defense today. And man, Tucker Kraft is going to have an absolutely unreal 2025. I can feel it coming. Here you see him against, I think it's Devin Witherspoon on the outside there. Really nice kind of wheel route by the tight end after a bootleg by Malik Willis. And with Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave cooking today, Malik Willis was on fire versus the first team Seattle defense. And you'll see with all these clips, nice play here by Kraft. And I'm going to run through some of these pretty quickly because there's just so many of them. It's a nice angle route by Tucker Kraft on the left side, beating the Seattle Seahawks linebacker, I believe, number 3 there, or nickel corner for a wide open gain. Here's a play of Tucker Kraft running a crosser route from right to left and doing a good job seeing where the linebackers are at in their depth, in their zone, and then breaking underneath Ernest Jones here, crossing the face, and a really nice throw by Malik Willis in between Jones and the other nickel defender there. Let it play once more for you guys. Tucker Kraft, man, he was wide open all day, pretty much making every catch that was thrown to him, and I really love Malik Willis today. I just feel like he was in control, poised in the pocket, delivering accurate footballs, and you'll see probably his best throw of camp in a throw to Luke Musgrave soon after this one. But man, tight ends just absolutely on fire today. Even just something simple as this, Malik Willis throwing around Zach Tom with a sidearm to Josh Jacobs. You know, it's a simple gain. It's nothing crazy, but this is like starter caliber quarterback things in practice against a starting Seattle defense. You love to see it. Obviously, Jordan Love is the starter, but man, I feel so confident that if Jordan Love does have to miss any time, and knock on wood that he doesn't, but we can win a games yet again, just like we did last year with Malik Willis. I think he's a starter quality quarterback in this league. Here is more of, you guessed it, Tucker Kraft running a quick out route from kind of the slot here, beating Julian Love. Just again, a terrific throw. Love outstretching, trying to break that thing up, can't get his hands on it. And then Tucker Kraft is to the races up the sideline. Realistically, like, do we think Tucker Kraft could have a 1,000-yard season? I think if he gets the target share, I think he definitely can. Here's just another terrific throw and catch. Malik Willis to Romeo Doubs. You can see Doubs in motion pre-snap. I believe he's going to run an out and up on the outside. He does run an out and up and absolutely torches the defender on the outside there. I can't tell exactly who it is for Seattle. Out and ups are terrific routes if you can buy enough time for your quarterback to stand strong in the pocket without pressure. Really good protection up front. You can see Jordan Morgan really not having to block anyone. Good day by this offensive line. Now, this was before the fight, so we still see, you know, Zach Tom in at right tackle. But like I said, after the fight, Zach Tom sat out of practice. Belton came in at right tackle. And then also I think they took Elton Jenkins out of center later in practice, and Sean Ryan slid over to center. Really nice protection and just a beautiful throw to a wide open Romeo Doubs here. Here's another terrific throw by Malik Willis. You're sensing the theme in today's practice. Going to fit it in between two defenders on the left side. Just an absolute dot in the middle of two defenders to Malik Heath. I've been thinking about it lately, and I think Malik Heath makes this roster. I'm on the fence, like I said earlier. It's either him or McCole Hardman. And I'm kind of like, okay, if it's not McCole Hardman, then who in the world's going to return punts? But I think the Packers love Malik Heath, and he's getting reps with the first team here. I know we have a ton of injuries at wide receiver, but the Packers really do like Malik Heath. So let me know. Do you think it's Malik Heath, McCole Hardman, maybe both? Like I mentioned, terrific day by also tight end Luke Musgrave. If he can make this jump this year, man, this offense can really reach new levels. Love the scramble drill here by Luke Musgrave. Play breaks down. Maybe it would be sacked, but then again, Malik Willis is a very agile quarterback. Could probably escape that thing, and we saw that against the Colts, doing a good job escaping the pocket. Julian Love ends up falling. I feel like a lot of Seattle defenders were slipping all over the field today. And a great adjustment by Luke Musgrave to kind of cut up field, then cut back and back shoulder. You know, Malik Willis just put it to where only his receivers able to catch that thing, you know, on the run. Off-platform throw by Malik Willis. Just have a day for Willis, and also Musgrave. Final day of practice, just showcasing that, hey, don't forget about me as another threat on this offense. Some 12 personnel with both him and Kraft on the field could be very, very dangerous for opposing defenses this year. And since we're on the subject of Musgrave, this has got to be the play of the day for both Willis and Musgrave over none other than Tariq Woolen on the outside. I don't think you could have thrown a better ball there if you're Malik Willis, and I don't think you could have done a better job high pointing this and bringing it down right over a defender if you're Luke Musgrave. And Musgrave does the coveted fall to the ground, can't stay on his feet right after the catch, but more importantly, gets possession, gets both feet down, a little bit of an out and up, doesn't sell it too well, doesn't need to, because him and Malik Willis were on fire today. And this is against Reek Woolen. Like, he's a terrific cornerback in the NFL. If Luke Musgrave is doing this against Reek Woolen in practice, man, I'm so excited for 2025 for both of these tight ends. Like I said, more 12 personnel with Tucker Kraft. Luke Musgrave could do so much damage if he's making plays like this to defenses. Then to wrap things up, we do have a defensive 11v11 highlight. Now, the Seattle offense was doing pretty well against the Packers defense, primarily Jackson Smith and Jigba, who had 2 touchdowns in 7v7 periods and multiple catches in 11v11. But the first team Packers defense did end with a bang here, an interception and also a would-be sack. First, I want you to watch the play in full and see this terrific play by Evan Williams coming all the way across field, undercutting the route for that terrific interception for Evan Williams. But now I want you to watch in the middle of the field, right in the middle of the defensive line, Warren Brinson absolutely just smoke this left guard. I think it's Gray Zabel. I mean, this strength, the push right up the middle, that's a sack. If it's not, it's a fumble or it's a throw that ends up wobbling in the air and still ends up in an interception. Warren Brinson has been great so far in camp and preseason. He's 100% making the roster, and I'm excited for him and his former Georgia teammate Nazir Stackhouse, if he also makes the roster, what they can do on this defensive line. I know someone's going to point it out. Lucas Van Ness gets absolutely stood up here by a tight end. I think it's Elijah Arroyo. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't like to see that. Bad reps happen. But overall, this play, awesome for the Packers first team defense to end with a bang here. Would be sacked by Warren Brinson and just a terrific undercut interception by safety Evan Williams there. So those are the highlights I have from the final day of Green Bay Packers training camp. Kind of went over everything that happened in camp as well because we had so many clips. So I don't really have any more takeaways other than Kalen King saw a lot of nickel number 1 snaps today. So that's something important to note moving forward. Likely just want to see him with the starting defense to make that, decision. Hey, is he going to make this 53-man roster? Still have a preseason game and he'll play a lot in that as well. Rough showing by Jordan Love in the 7v7s. Not too worried about it. Very vanilla 7v7s are just to get Jordan Love the reps overall. And McManus actually is human. He missed 2 kicks today. I don't know if we've seen that all camp, so, I'm not worried about it, but I think he might need to go back to reffing after missing 2 kicks today. So that does it for the final day of Green Bay Packers training camp. It's still insane to say. I feel like training camp just started. Absolutely flew by, but man, I'm ready. I'm ready for the regular season. Let's get through this final preseason game and then the 53-man roster cut down, which I'll put out my prediction after this last preseason game on my final roster prediction, of course, but then into week 1 versus Detroit. I'm just really hoping the Packers can get healthy. That's the main thing, right? So many injuries at wide receiver. Aaron Banks still out of practice with a back issue. That's continuing to pop up. Xavier McKinney returned today, so that's great. Some depth injuries like Barron Sorrell, Marshawn Lloyd. Let's see if they can potentially return. We're just over 2 weeks out from that first game, but man, I am so excited. Again, I'd really appreciate it if you went down and clicked subscribe if you're stopping by for the first time, and leave a like on your way out. It supports the channel a ton. It was a blast covering training camp with you guys. Really appreciate all the endless support, the views, the likes, the comments. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.